Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Campea, and this is the Weekly Hero. Name change pending. Yes, I know, but we're still sticking on the Weekly Hero for now. With me, and of course, I am joined by my guest, of course. He's the regular co-host here, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, man?
John, good to see you. You know, you might notice that I kind of look like Clarence Boddicker.
What's going on with the face?
You know, RoboCop beat me up, and I'm talking to Dick Jones. I'm like, look at my face, Dick. No, I was walking my dog, and I literally tripped my puppy, my giant puppy. I apologize. It'll clear up. This is why the Burnett Works new show, Robservations, my new show, has been delayed. I did not want to have my pilot with my face looking like this.
You know what? And here's a true story. I even offered. I said, do you want me to get some of the touch-up makeup? And you're like, no, you know what? You and I, this is what I like about you and I. Neither of us are vain. Because you got the marks on the face. I got the hockey tooth going on. I didn't put in the falsie when I was like, I don't care. I'll wait till the bone heals and then put the crown put on. We don't care. We don't give a fuck.
It's true. It's true. You know, I mean, that's you gotta get the job done. You can't just wait until you look good. Although that's good too.
That's not bad either. All right, we got a bunch of things to talk about here today. We're going to talk about, of course, about the Captain Marvel stuff. We're going to talk about the comments being made about Ben Affleck's Batman script. We're going to talk about Henry Cavill getting cast in The Witcher, but more specifically, what is that going to do to the situation with the possibilities of a Man of Steel 2? We're going to talk maybe a little bit about the Flash directorial situation, all that kind of stuff, because we want to hear Robert's opinions on that. You've heard some of mine. I'll give them again, too. But let's go right into the Captain Marvel situation. Of course, the first images of Captain Marvel were dropped this morning. So, Robert, just right off the bat here, man, what do you think about these Captain Marvel images?
I am so excited. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I was. Skrulls. You got Ronan looking green, like the Kree that he is, or the Skrull is his Kree. You've got Marvel. Carol Danvers in her final suit looking incredible, and in her Kree suit. I can't, like I told you before, I can't believe that we're getting this. I can't believe, and I'm hoping, you know, this is going to be the way the Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be the funny side of the cosmic Marvel universe. I think this is going to be more of a serious-minded, more of a hard sci-fi fantasy take on Carol Danvers and on the cosmic end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I can't wait for this. I can't believe what I was seeing. Everything looks so good. And you've got Carol Danvers flying an F-15 Eagle. Man, come on! And I'll tell you something else that was really cool. Somebody is complaining like, oh, the Skrulls look like Mighty Morphin Powers Rangers villains. Like, they're Skrulls. They look like Skrulls. And anyone who's complaining about that makeup is in broad daylight outside in the sunlight. I mean, that proves how good those makeups really are, because nothing's hiding those. And I'm very, very excited. Very excited. It looks great to me. I want to see the Star Wars of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This could be it.
You know, I saw the images right away, and I thought, this looks perfect. I mean, I'm one of these guys where I don't really generally care too awful much. I mean, I care a little, but I don't usually care all too awful much about the costume. Like, as long as I can look at the costume and know, oh, that's that character. Like, everybody wants to pick over with a fine-tooth comb every time there's a new iteration of the Batman costume. It's like, oh, like, I don't care. I look at it. Can I tell that it's Batman?
Right.
Good. I'm fine then, whatever. But I really do like this costume on her. It looks great. The one little nitpick I brought up this morning, to be honest, was the fact that the actual EW cover, it looked straight up photoshopped. It just looked like a Photoshop thing.
Yeah.
And I probably would have turned me off more if it wasn't for the fact that they actually had like the picture from the movie of her standing there out in the desert and all that kind of stuff. Like, because they had that, I didn't mind it so much. But the cover itself looked a little bit photoshopped. Other than that, it was cool seeing Jude Law in that green outfit. Clearly, I was kind of pointing out before that those pictures we got like 10 months ago, remember when she was wearing the green outfit?
Yeah.
Remember, they weren't even shooting the movie yet at that point. And everybody got all upset because it looked really baggy on her. And we kept on trying to say, guys, this is just a costume and camera test. This is by no means, she may not even be wearing the green in the movie at the time, but I mean, it's certainly going to be fitted. But like, don't worry about it. It's just a test. Sure enough, we see her in the new outfit. perfectly form-fitting. She looks great in it. I love seeing Jude Law in the outfit too. Seeing, I forget the Burn Notice actor again, Lee Pace. That's it. Lee Pace back as Ronan. A lot of people diss on the Ronan character from Guardians of the Galaxy. I liked it a lot, and I'll be honest with you, Rob. That was one of the things that got me really excited about this, knowing that he was going to be one of the villains.
Yeah, well, and Korath. You know, they're bringing back Djimon Hounsou also, and I think, you know,
name is Djimon Hounsou's first movie.
It wasn't Gladiator. I don't know.
Steven Spielberg, my favorite Steven Spielberg. Amistad. Very good. There you go.
Yes, I should have known that. You know, if we were on the Schmodown. Really good. No, but what I love about this is I love how this movie has so many different connections to the Marvel cinematic universe. It's all over the place. We've got Nick Fury as a young man. He's like the Jack Ryan now. He's an analyst, apparently. He's not running S.H.I.E.L.D. when we see him.
And by the way, I mentioned on the show today, I just wonder if you feel the same. I looked at him and I'm like, that just looks like Nick Fury. It doesn't look like a de-aged Nick Fury. I mean, right. Maybe it's just me, or Samuel Jackson's pretty much ageless. So I guess that as well.
I mean, I just like seeing him. I mean, I can't wait to see this movie. I have such high hopes for it, and I just want to see an epic I want to see a sci-fi epic. You know, there's a lot of people are saying, oh, it's like Green Lantern or it's like Supergirl, Carol Danvers. You know, it's very different. And Carol Danvers, who was Miss Marvel and then Captain Marvel, has a really long history in the Marvel Comics universe. And one of my favorite comic books of all time was Avengers Annual 10 that was written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Michael Golden. And in it was the introduction of Rogue. And she takes away all of Carol Danvers' powers and personality and basically leaves her a blank slate. If you want to read a great X-Men comic, a great comic about Carol Danvers, she's had so many weird incarnations. She's been tied into both the X-Men and the Avengers throughout her comic career. I've always loved the character. I can't wait to see this. It just looks amazing.
All right, now we're going to go on to a second topic here, but before we do, it wouldn't be a weekly hero if Robert Meyer Burnett didn't bring along one of his hot toys, and I got to tell you, I'm really excited about the one you brought in today. Why don't you tell us about what you brought in here today?
Well, this is a little vintage. It's not a vintage figure. It came out in the last year, I think, at some point. But it's a girl. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, I'm never one of these guys that never said I don't collect female action figures, because I do. And this is a figure that I've wanted basically since I was 12 years old in 1979. Here it is.
Drum roll.
Ellen Ripley.
Oh, yes.
Ellen Ripley of the Nostromo, of the crew of the Nostromo, the only surviving member of the Nostromo, with her cat Jones, of course. Now, this hot toy figure is an amazing likeness of Sigourney Weaver. It does not have rooted hair. It's actually got plastic hair, but that doesn't matter. But it's got all of the Weyland-Yutani, like all the emblems on her outfit. It comes with Jones the cat in the cat carrier.
Well, why don't we take a look at it then?
Well, absolutely.
Let's grab the old, we might as well call this the hot toy cam.
Hot toy cam. Campea's hot toy cam.
Coming over here and take a look. Well, hopefully the autofocus will do a good job here. Look at this.
She's in her jumpsuit, of course, before she gets out of that jumpsuit.
And look at that flamethrower.
Oh yeah, the flamethrower, and it's just the detail is so, again, Hot Toys does themselves proud. I love when they go back and they do a figure. Hot Toys has done one of the first Hot Toys releases that I picked up. They did all of the Alien Marines, the Space Marines, back in the mid-aughts from Aliens.
I'm just looking at the sneakers, and they look awesome.
The sneakers are awesome, and they did Aliens and Space Marines, but they didn't have the likeness approval, so the Space Marines didn't look like anyone. Like Apone didn't look like Apone did. And then they did a Ripley before from Aliens and a Power Loader that they said they were going to reissue, but I think they've canceled those plans. But so having Sigourney Weaver from the original Alien, I just love the original Alien so much. And they also made, Hot Toys made the Alien from Alien, which is called the Big Chap, which is another great figure. So it's great to finally have Ellen Ripley. And what's great for me is I get to open these figures that I've bought and put them away because I don't necessarily have a place to display them now. And I love being able to take them out and have them on the show. One
of the really cool things about this, you mentioned the cat. She's actually got her carrying case with the cat inside, and this cat comes out.
Jones comes out.
Jones comes out of the of the carrying case.
Yes.
It's actually, we were playing with it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'll tell you what, man. I love this figure. I think it looks awesome, and it's a little bit outside of the sandbox that we're normally, because we're pulling in Ultron or whatever.
Right.
To get like a true classic geek figure like Ripley and it just looks awesome.
And it's called the Weekly Hero. She's one of the great heroines of all science fiction, fantasy. Before Buffy, there was Ellen Ripley. Before Buffy was vanquishing vampires, Ellen Ripley was vanquishing xenomorphs. And, back in 1979, when Alien originally came out, it blew everyone's mind. The same way that Star Wars created that lived-in future for science fiction films, Alien did the same thing with space horror. And it's one of the most, I think Alien is still one of the most perfect genre movies ever made. There's not a misstep in the film.
All right, well, with the hot toy out of the way, we were talking a little bit about what you might bring next week, which is also very exciting, but we'll get to that next week. All right. For now, let's move on to another topic. There is a dude who some of you may recognize his name, Jay Oliva, or it might be Oliva. I'm not quite sure on the pronunciation, to be honest with you. Now, interesting fact. This is what's funny, Robert. When people ask me about animated films in comic books, I generally, Marvel or DC, I do not like their animated stuff for the most part. But I always say there are a couple of exceptions. The Dark Knight Returns, clear exception.
Right.
The DC Flashpoint Paradox animated movie.
I like that.
I thought was pretty good. And the one Marvel one I've always really actually quite liked was their Doctor Strange animated movie. All three of them, I found out, I didn't realize till today, were directed by the same guy, James, or I keep on saying James, Jay Oliva. So he directed those things. He's also a sketch, he's a storyboard artist. Now the storyboard artist is the one who works with the director to lay out the film before they ever start shooting. Like all these movies have storyboards of the entire movie before they start shooting. He's worked on them. And one of the films that he was working on, he's worked on Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, Deadpool, Thor Ragnarok, all those stuffs. But one of the films he was working on was Ben Affleck's Batman. So he read Ben Affleck's script, and he was working on storyboards for it, and he came out and made this comment. Here's what he had to say. He said, he was conversing with somebody, he said, "Hi, Bill. The original Affleck script was the best Batman script I have ever read. Ben had a kick-ass story, and I believe that the audience and fans would have loved it. Once more, the original Affleck script was the best Batman script that I have ever read. Ben had a kick-ass story, and I believe the audience and fans would have loved it." So that was his comments on that. Now, you guys know me. I would give a kidney to see a Ben Affleck written and directed Batman movie. I've been wanting that forever. It's what I really want. Don't get me wrong, Matt Reeves, great director, very much looking forward to his Batman as well. But if I had to pick between the two, I'm taking the Ben Affleck Batman. So hearing Jay say this is great on one hand, but completely heartbreaking to me on the other. What's your reaction? When you hear this stuff, what do you think about?
Well, I agree too. I mean, here's what bothers me is that, first of all, Ben Affleck is an Academy Award-winning screenwriter for Good Will Hunting. He made four very fine motion pictures, one of which, Argo, won Best Picture. I mean, you look at Gone Baby Gone, you look at The Town, you look at Argo, and then Live by Night. I mean, Live by Night might not have been as successful as his other movies. Still, a handsomely produced film, beautifully.
I thought that film was underrated. I didn't think it was great. I think it's his fourth best film. But I thought it still was a solid film.
Beautifully made, and what really bothers me is he's a first-class, first-rate filmmaker, and to not, I don't know what happened. I mean, why should he shouldn't have fallen from favor with the studio. He was just an actor in both Justice League and in Suicide Squad and in, of course, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Everyone loved him. And now they talk about him going to rehab. Look, if I was Ben Affleck and I worked for 25 years working on my career, and then it suddenly got derailed for whatever reason because Live by Night didn't live up to expectations, and the studio suddenly said, I mean, you're only as good as your last project. That's what they say in Hollywood. But Ben Affleck has proven himself time and time again, and it's just a shame. Maybe that script will see the light of day. I think it was supposed to be with the Terminator. Deathstroke the Terminator was supposed to be in that script.
Yeah, and here's the other neat thing about it. Jay went on and put out another tweet talking about how it absolutely had the best scenes with Batman and Deathstroke that he said he has ever seen in any medium. And then following up that tweet, the first response to that tweet was Joe Manganiello, who put in there and put him a big thumbs up emoji with it as well. So I mean, yeah, it would have been pretty cool. It would have been pretty cool to see. But look, I thought one of the clear things that this points us to was that there was a fracture in the relationship between, because if the script was that good, then when they removed him as the director, it could have been like the James Gunn situation. They could have kept his script. I also understand if you're bringing in a new director, you want to give the new director to have leeway to come up with a new script of their own too. I understand that, but I kind of felt like it was a bit of fracture. But it just makes me sad all over again that we're not going to see this Ben Affleck thing.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, the Terminator is Deathstroke's one of my favorite villains in the DC universe when he was introduced in Teen Titans, especially with the Judas contract, which made him one of the greatest villains of all time. And that glimpse you have of Manganiello as Deathstroke at the end of Justice League just twists the knife in a little bit more, because it's like, why do we not get these awesome things? So I understand there are stockholders and there is the investors and people have to save face, but the world must go on. And it's too bad that this movie has been denied us for whatever reason. I mean, look, I want all movies to be good, but when you hear something like this, it just is heartbreaking.
All right, let's move on to this now here. The other day, it was officially announced that some people speculated a month ago. Henry Cavill said, you know, I've been playing The Witcher 3 lately. I'd love to play Geralt in that movie, which is the lead character in Witcher 3. And then, of course, that jackass Boss Logic. Why is he a jackass? Because there's only so much talent to go around in the world. Why does he get so much of it? Boss Logic puts together this picture of Henry Cavill after Henry Cavill says he'd like to play the role. Look how cool this picture looks.
So cool.
With Cavill as that character. And then, of course, after that, we find out the other day that Henry Cavill has indeed been cast. But the reality is he was cast in this role months ago, because the showrunner of the show said, Henry Cavill was the first guy I met with 4 months ago about the role, and he was perfect for it. So it's like, okay, so he was already But not talking about The Witcher here. The question that has been brought up by a number of people here, Robert, is that what, if anything, what does this say about the scenario with Man of Steel 2? Because one could argue, as I did on my own show, I argued, look, lots of actors do multiple projects. Just because he's going to be doing The Witcher doesn't mean he can't do Man of Steel 2, if they ever did get around to doing a Man of Steel 2. Granted, a television show is a little bit more involved.
Right.
But somebody reminded me today that, John, it's not just The Witcher. It's all this talk that he might be the new Bond after Daniel Craig. But, I mean, don't forget, we still have one more Daniel Craig Bond to come.
Maybe.
But well, no, it's coming. It's just slightly delayed till they find a new director. But my question to you is, do you think Cavill, number one, coming off the success of Fallout, number two, now landing the lead role in Witcher, number three, he looked, I mean, it's not nowhere near as a lock, but right now I'd say he's probably the front runner to become the new James Bond. He was the runner-up to Daniel Craig, don't forget, to play Bond. It was between him and Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig got it, and they've always loved it, Henry Cavill. Seeing all this stuff right now, what do you think are odds? Do you think the odds of a Man of Steel 2 have gone up, have gone down, haven't changed at all? How do you see this whole thing?
Well, it's interesting. You look at a guy like, say, John Krasinski, who's got...
Awesome.
He's got... Jack Ryan just dropped from Amazon, and then he wrote and directed A Quiet Place, which was one of the big hits of earlier from this year. So if people want to work, they can work. I mean, a Witcher show is going to be quite involved. I can imagine the production on it's going to be, 6 months maybe, in whatever foreign countries or European nations they're going to shoot in. So he's going to be taken off the grid. But if he's a man that likes to work 24/7 or he likes to work all year round, you never know what you could make him do. I mean, look at it, Benedict Cumberbatch. He does shows like Sherlock, and then he's got Patrick, whatever that new show is, Patrick Morgan.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for it. I'm like, what the hell is that? He did
that. He's doing Avengers 3 and 4, Infinity War and Avengers 4. So if these guys want to work, but on the other hand, I mean, I'd love to see him in Superman or Man of Steel, or just call it Superman. There's never been a movie called Superman. There was Superman the movie, which, by the way, is coming out in 4K, and I'm very excited about that. But I think he could do it. It's just a question of, he's going to be a very, very, very busy man for a while, I hope. I mean, I loved Witcher 3. I can't wait to see him in that adaptation, and I think it'll be great. But he's going to have a lot of work cut out.
And you know, the one key thing they point out there: shooting a show is not quite like shooting a movie. Shooting a movie can take a year to make a movie. It doesn't take a year to shoot a movie. Like a lot of the big films you see in theaters shoot for 8 to 12 weeks. That's really a lot of time. That's all it really takes the actor. The one point that you brought up, though, that I think is really key here is that, you know, Netflix, I think they're looking at this. Look, Amazon's got their Lord of the Rings show. That is their attempt to have their own Game of Thrones. I think this is Netflix's attempt to have their version of Game of Thrones.
Right.
And you know it's going to be involved. And I think the key thing you brought up there was the fact that this isn't going away for 8 to 12 weeks. This is probably being completely off the grid for 6, 7, 8 months.
Right.
And if they start shooting this thing in 2019, he ain't shooting no Man of Steel in 2019, which means the earliest you could probably be shooting a Man of Steel 2 would be 2020, which means at the earliest we're getting a Man of Steel 2 would be 2021. So I don't know if this means, some people are suggesting this means he's not Superman anymore. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but if nothing else, it definitely means something's going to be delayed. No,
and look, the thing about Ben Affleck not being Batman, Affleck is older than Henry Cavill is.
Oh yes.
You know, you've got a decade, and these films are, as Josh Brolin has shown through his tweets and his Instagram postings about how it's rough for a guy who's pushing 50 to become a character like Batman, to have that kind of a body and to go through the shredding for months that it requires. But Henry Cavill's got a good decade of roles ahead of him. And, you know, if anyone, I really liked The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I thought he was great in it.
I love that movie. I'm glad you said that.
I loved it. I mean, I don't understand why I didn't do better. It was so much fun, and it was evoking the 60s again. It was just great. And Armie Hammer's great as Ilya Kuryakin. That was great, too.
Yep.
But I don't see why he can't play Superman. He's great as Superman. Let him have a definitive Superman movie.
Here's hoping, fingers crossed. All right, let's move on now to this little topic here that came up the other day. Now, we all know that The Flash, they have their directors. I can't remember the name of the directors right now at the top of my head, but the two guys who did that National Lampoon's movie, which was terrible, but they also did Game Night, which was actually pretty damn good. I like Game Night as a fun little comedy. But they're supposed to be directing The Flash. All right, that became official months ago. Then, as we talked about on my show, Robert, Clemens, the girl who's going to be playing Iris West in The Flash, this week was interviewed on a red carpet. Basically asked, is Flash going to start shooting in 2018? She said, no. Here's hoping we're going to shoot in 2019, but we don't know. So clearly things are delayed. But then she said this. She said, I think we kind of know something about who our director, singular, I think we kind of know something about who our director is, but I can't say anything. That made me on my show earlier this week go, wait a minute, time out, time out. You announced two dudes who are directing this and made it official months ago. What do you mean, I think we know something about who our director is, but I can't say anything? It's like, wait, what? Then one of my viewers wrote in and speculated, hey, John, we know James Gunn, according to the Hollywood Reporter, has had every studio, including Warner Brothers, lining up to offer him high-profile projects. What's the possibility that James Gunn is going to be directing The Flash? Now, all this assumes a whole hell of a lot that we don't know for sure. We don't know that these two guys have been taken off the Flash movie. We're interpreting something that an actress said off the cuff on a red carpet, okay? Let's keep that in mind. Still, you'd have to be a little bit naive to not at least admit her comments are curious. At the very least, her comments are curious. So you hear these, Robert, you hear these words and stuff like that. Where does your mind go when you hear about all this?
Well, you know, I think The Flash has been a cursed project. How many directors have come and gone? I was
3 or 4, at least.
I was excited when the director of Dope was on board because I loved Dope, and I thought he would have done something really unique. And Warner Brothers hasn't been able to get their act together. We know for a fact we're getting Shazam, we're getting Aquaman, and we're getting Wonder Woman 84.
Excited about all 3 of those.
I am too. They all look very well. I don't know about Wonder Woman yet, but I'm sure it's awesome. I just, we don't know. I think Warner Brothers is really holding off. They have to see if they have 3 hits in a row. If Shazam, Aquaman, and then Wonder Woman, they know is going to be a hit. But if Shazam and Aquaman do good for them, I think they're going to open the floodgates. I think we're going to get 3 Warner Brothers superhero films a year after that, or in a few years when they are up to production speed. But, you know, Flash is a movie everybody wants to see. But on the other hand, they have a very successful Flash TV show. So I'm sure that Flash is not their priority, especially in the theatrical department. They're like, we can wait a little. We got Flash on TV. I don't know, but I just would love to see a great Flash film.
You know what, and I'll tell you what, I know there are some people who had problems with it. I actually quite enjoyed the Ezra Miller Flash. There was a quirkiness to him that was very different from the television versions of him, which I think you had to do.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, I'm dying to see a movie with this kid in it, in this role. Here's one thought I had. I don't know what you think, but I think a lot with the delay of The Flash, that they originally said, hey, they could be shooting it in 2018. They never said for sure they were. So that gets presented. Now the actress doesn't even know if they're going to shoot in 2019. Right. Here's my thought. I can't help but wonder if some of this is, remember, it wasn't too long ago that a new sheriff came to town with running the DC movies with Walter Hamada.
Right.
Now, he is the sheriff of the DC movies. And I said when he came in, look, the reality is we expect to see new announcements tomorrow. The reality is we as an audience probably won't really see the effects of this new leadership for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And part of me wonders if this delay, if there is one, is part of Walter Hamada going, hey, everybody, guess what? We need to really assess where we're at. Let's not do what this company has done in the past. Announce 45 movies and then get egg all over our faces when 42 of them never come to fruition.
Right.
Let's pump the brakes. We've got these 3 movies already in the pipeline by the time he came on, which is Flash, Shazam, Wonder Woman. Let's get these made. Let's get them. We got a great director in James Wan. We're going to lead it off with Aquaman. I think Jason Momoa is a great Aquaman. And let's assess. Let's really see where we're at. Let's take a breath and see where we're at. And part of me wonders if this isn't about changing directors and it's not about this. It's just Hamada saying, everybody, let's cool our jets. Very soon we're going to have both Shazam and Aquaman in our rearview mirror. It's not going to be, we're going to blink and both of those movies will have already been out in the theaters. Right. So let's see where we're at. And part of me thinks that. Do you think there's any validity to that?
I think there's a lot of validity to that. I think, look, what's interesting about Shazam, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman are all pretty much standalone movies. They're not building the universe. I think they felt such pressure, especially by their stockholders and the people that are the heaviest investors in that globally held company. They wanted that Avengers money. You know, why aren't our movies grossing $2 billion? Well, if you look at the Marvel singular films, if they're making $750 million worldwide, that's incredibly respectable. And I think Hamada knows, look, if we do those numbers and put up those numbers on 3 movies in a row, Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman, we're back in our superhero game. We're at the top of the game again, and then we can rebuild up to another Justice League. A singular Batman movie, that also is going to make that kind of money. So I think they're being really smart. They said Flash was going to be the Flashpoint Paradox movie, which is mired in the rest of the DC universe. Why go down that road right now? I think that's why they probably reassessed and pulled back from what they were going to do. I think we're not going to see a Flashpoint Paradox movie. We're going to see a standalone Flash film the same way we're getting standalone Shazam, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman films. That's the smart play, because otherwise you've got too much going on and it hasn't been working out for them.
Let me ask you this. This is a lot, because a lot of people write what if questions are very popular. Hey John, I get, what if right. Aquaman's a huge hit with the fans and the audience and the box office, and Shazam is a big hit? Well, it's tricky answering the what if questions. But it does bring up an interesting question. I'm curious, because you and I haven't talked about this. Understanding that Justice League, while I don't believe it lost money for the studio, Justice League was a disappointment for the studio. That was supposed to be their answer to Avengers. And instead, it was the lowest grossing movie of all the DCEU films.
Yeah.
With that happening, now we're moving into an Aquaman movie. Granted, you got James Wan in there, great director. I thought the trailer for Aquaman was the best trailer of Comic-Con. I loved it. But my question to you is, understanding the fan response to Justice League, understanding that not a lot of people by these standards came out to support it, realistically, let's assume for a minute that Aquaman, let's not say great, but let's say is good. Let's say Aquaman is a good film. Realistically, how well, coming off of Justice League, how well, assuming it's a good movie, can Aquaman actually do at the box office? What are you thinking?
Well, you know, I think if it's a great film, we are coming off of the most successful summer in Hollywood history.
Yes.
I mean, it's, of course, yes, I know, don't come at me with inflation and adjusted dollars. I get it. But in terms of just numbers, I mean, it's a very successful summer. Movies are doing well. Tentpole properties are doing well. People are excited because the movies have been good. We got a lot of riches at the box office this summer.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the ones that have hit $1 billion, Black Panther, great. Avengers Infinity War, great. I thought Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was the second best Jurassic Park movie. Incredibles 2, awesome. And
highest
these are
grossing Pixar film.
What's that?
It's the highest grossing Pixar movie.
And it's now the highest grossing domestically, the highest grossing animated film of all time. Only the 9th film, animated or otherwise, in history to hit $600 million domestically. And it's the second highest animated film grossing worldwide, just behind Frozen. You look at all these $1 billion club films, they're all good.
Right. And that's what I think is good. And I think, look, if Aquaman is good, and I think it probably is going to be, at least it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, unless it's a complete unmitigated disaster, which I don't think it is, because I don't think James Wan would allow himself to do that. I think the movie's going to be a hell of fun. I think it's going to provide incredible visuals. It's going to be a fun time at the movies. I would imagine that you're going to make at least $750 million to $1 billion if the movie is really, really good. And I think it probably is.
Say that again.
It's going to make between $750 to $1 billion.
So you think, despite the fact that Justice League, with Aquaman in it, only made around 640, 650, you think Aquaman on his own can surpass that and get to that Wonder Woman range between 700 and $1 billion?
Absolutely, but that's if the movie's good,
right?
Because it's providing something we haven't seen before. It's got interesting visuals. It's got a lot of great actors. You've got Black Manta, you've got Orm, you've got Mara, you've got all of these great characters, or Mara. You've got all these great characters, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And if it's a lot of fun and delivers the goods, it's going to make a lot of money because people are primed for that.
What about the fact that it's opening in the same 1-week window as Mary Poppins, Mortal Engine, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, Bumblebee, Alita Battle Angel, Holmes and Watson, all in that same 7-day window? How does that play into it?
I think that's the most brutal opening.
It's crazy.
Of any. I can't remember a more brutal opening.
I agree.
But it is opening over the holidays, and I do think, look, these films, everybody has to see them. Like, I'm deliriously excited for Mary Poppins. I can't.
Me too.
I can't wait.
With Emily Blunt?
It looked, the trailers, the tone of it all these movies. I mean, Battle Angel, Alita Battle Angel. I can't believe we're getting all these, but I think they could all make money again if they're good, because then if people like one movie, they get excited about movies in general, and they'll go see them all. They'll knock them down like pins. And I think that, I still think it's going to do that kind of money.
All right, well, listen, guys, that's all of our official topics right now, but you guys have been sending in some live questions. So since we do this show live, why not take some live questions? So let's get over and do that right now. And we're going to get the live questions started with Canada Rocks, who writes, ravioli and peppers were the silly Italian voices of Schnepp and Christian. Oh, somebody asked me about that earlier. Oh, yeah, and I didn't know what he was talking about, but now that you say that, now I remember. Thank you for reminding me about that, Canada Rocks. I appreciate that. Sebastian writes, are you familiar with Teen Titans live action? Yes, I am, unfortunately, familiar with it. I just thought, I was interested and became intrigued with it when I saw those still images last year of the Robin still image. I thought the costume looks great, all that kind of stuff. And then the trailer dropped at Comic-Con, and it's awful. I mean, you know what? I don't know if Robert and I have talked about it yet, but
no.
Dude, I thought that movie sucked 7 degrees of sucking. I thought it so desperately was trying to look dark and edgy, but being dark and edgy is like being cool. You can be cool. The minute you look like you're trying to be cool, you ain't cool. This movie, and then that line with Robin, like, fuck Batman, right? It's like, oh, look how dark and edgy we are. It just hit me the wrong way. But I don't know, maybe you loved it. What did you think about it?
The Teen Titans, the George Perez, Marv Wolfman Teen Titans of the early 80s is one of my favorite comic book runs of all time. Probably my favorite super team. I mean, I love the JLA and I love Legion, and I love the Avengers and I love the X-Men, but the Teen Titans really meant a lot to me. And they're not dark. That iteration was not dark. Dark things happen. Really dark things happen. But it didn't mean that the sky was dark, and that it's raining all the time. It's not like The Crow. It's not going to rain all the time. It can't rain all the time. But it really bothered me, the whole tone of Titans. I'm like, wait a minute, you guys, wrong direction for the Titans to go. Really, really disappointed me. However, the jury for me is still out. I always believe in waiting and seeing. It's ridiculous to get all upset about something before you've seen it.
It's just a trailer.
It's just a trailer, and they could be trying to sell this because the marketing department decided we have to make something look dark and edgy, and it might not be that way. But I love the Titans so much that I hope it's good, just like I hope everything is good. But I thought it was completely the wrong direction. If I was the showrunner, that would not have been the Titans I would have been making.
And I'll tell you what, it had the complete opposite effect of what it was supposed to do. This Teen Titans, now granted, the Warner Brothers streaming service is starting with a thin slate. So will the Disney service when it first launches, and then it'll get deeper over. But if they were planning that this was the trailer, and this is our flagship show for now, that's going to get people to sign up for it, for me, I got to tell you, it had the opposite effect. I was thinking about signing up for it, and now I'm like, hell no. Maybe I'll sign up for it in a few months when I see more content and see how it all pans out. And who knows, maybe the show will be great. Maybe it'll be great and it's just a terrible trailer. Here's hoping, but I'm not going to be signing up for this service until at least for the first couple of months, so I'm just going to have to wait and see how it goes.
Although I want to see Doom Patrol. They signed Timothy Dalton to lead to be the elder statesman of the Doom Patrol, man. I'm like, all right.
All right, next question comes to us from Sebastian, who follows up writing, my kids love the Toys That Made Us on Netflix. Thoughts? I love it too. And my wife, of course, works at Hasbro, so I get a real big kick out of watching. The Lego episode is fantastic. Oh. Have you seen any of this show?
Dude, as soon as it drops, I watch all 4 in a row. I mean, the fact that it, touching on Mego, and I worked on this He-Man documentary. I love the whole thing. I love the Hello Kitty episode. That was fantastic. I mean, it was interesting, though, because I thought the first season, the toys had as much to do with the companies that made them.
Yeah.
And that was sort of an interesting, you had a corporate story along with the story of the toys that I found fascinating. I thought their Star Trek episode was a little lacking, only because they didn't, I'm a tough critic when it comes to Star Trek, but it didn't, there's not a singular toy entity behind Star Trek, so it kind of just jumped around. And I think that they should have focused more on licensing it at Paramount and how the licensing department handled it, but that was just me. But I love that show. All
right, let's move on here. Caleb Bradford writes, does Robert have the Thanos hot toy? I don't know. Do you?
I do. Now there's the Thanos Guardians of the Galaxy hot toy that already came out when he's in his armor, and he's sitting in what? A throne.
And of course, you love your hot toys with chairs, man.
I do not know why I love these action figures with chairs. Hot Toys has made a lot of action figures with chairs. Captain Harlock and the Throne of Arcadia, but the first Thanos hot toy is pretty cool. And the throne is floating. It's got these like lucite clear things. But yes, I can bring that on. I just figured since the Infinity War Thanos is coming out, which is awesome. But you gotta have both. Why not?
All right, Sebastian follows up. It says a lot about the future of toys and kids. If you're talking about the toys that made us, I agree with you. It absolutely does. Murray Reich writes, I'm sorry, you giving out tickets or something? From Infinity War. When Doctor Strange shows up. I'm sorry, you giving out tickets to something?
Right.
That was a good line. It was a
great line.
It's funny. I've had a couple people quoting lines from various movies, including Infinity War, and you forget just how many great one-liners there are in Infinity War.
So many great ones. He's trying to steal what from the Wizards. The way Tony Stark is talking. It's just, I love it.
You're embarrassing me in front of the Wizards.
Yeah.
This is great. Okay, Patrick Conway writes, over or under 35%, Vision will be reborn as Ultron after Avengers 4. You know what, Patrick? That's a very interesting theory. I'm going to take the under on 35%. I think if you said 10%, I might take the over on that. but at 35%, that seems a little too likely. I'm going to take the under on that. Robert?
Yeah, me too, because I think Paul Bettany works really well with Elizabeth Olsen. The developing relationship that we saw glimpses of in Infinity War was so great. And I think if they're smart, which they are, they're going to continue to develop that further. And I like the idea. I mean, any robot or android or artificial person going on a quest for humanity, whether it's Bicentennial Man, whether it's Data, whether it's the replicants of Blade Runner, whether it's the robots of Westworld, I am in. And we've got that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I think Vision's going to stick around.
All right. Patrick Conway follows that up with, what did you think of the EW Phoenix shots last year? If we're talking about the X-Men, I liked them a lot. Look, I still have my concerns about Simon Kinberg directing. I love Simon Kinberg. I'm a Simon Kinberg fan. But I'm always hesitant about a guy doing his first directorial movie with a big tentpole project. I think that's dangerous. I think they should have given him a smaller budget, story, narrative-driven movie to do first just to cut his teeth, so I'm nervous about that. However, I thought the shots looked pretty good. They're just pictures, but I liked what I saw. Robert, do you remember those?
Yeah, and I can't wait. I mean, I hope it's great. Again, we're getting these two Marvel cinematic space epics. I mean, you know, the Dark Phoenix storyline, if they actually do the Dark Phoenix storyline, it's got a cosmic element to it as well that I can't wait to see. And, you know, I read those comics when they were new, and I would love to see that storyline done justice. You know, I don't think these reshoots are a bad thing. I think they saw what they needed to do, and they're making alterations, and they're going to plus the movie. That's what pickups are all about.
All right, Thick Sheev writes, as the DCU keeps moving forward, we could be getting closer to finally seeing a great live-action Robin on the big screen. Out of the 5, which do you two hope to see the most down the line? My pick is Stephanie Brown. Well, I mean, look, you got Dick, you got Tim, you got little Brucey Jr.
Right.
Of course, you got Jason. It's hard to say because, look, I've always gotten in a lot of trouble. People have, like, straight up hated me because I said I don't think Robin works on the big screen in the traditional way we've always understood Robin. It's one thing to have a 13 or 12-year-old or a 10-year-old, I mean, sometimes, Robin running around in a comic book or in an animated form. In the live-action, even remotely grounded, gritty world of the DCU, having a grown man, Batman, running around with an 11-year-old kid with a stick into a fight with mobsters with machine guns is asinine. It's completely stupid. That does not work. And then somebody will never say to me, well, John, you're okay with Spider-Man and he's a teenager. Spider-Man has the power of the gods. All right? Spider-Man has superhuman speed, strength, agility, magical spider sense, blah, blah, blah. Robin has a stick, okay? Now, I've also always said...
He's an acrobat.
He's an acrobat. A good acrobat,
yeah, right.
But a 10-year-old acrobat nonetheless.
It's what happens when Indiana Jones faces off against a Cairo swordsman.
Yes.
Bang.
Yeah, and that's all you got to do. Now, but I've always also said that, hey, if you break away from the traditional iteration of Robin, make it a 19-year-old kid, a 20-year-old dude, just a lost guy who comes under the tutelage of Batman, and he takes on the mantle of Robin. I'm okay with that, as long as everybody else will accept breaking the traditional bounds of that. If you do that, it's easy for me. It's the only true Robin. It's Dick Grayson, the true son of Batman, the true son. Did you ever read the last issue of the Nightfall saga? When Dick finally, it's all settled now. Jean-Paul's been taken care of. I talked about this the other day. And he comes in the cave. Now that it's all done and settled, Dick is like, okay, F this. And he goes and confronts Bruce. It's like, what the hell were you doing going to Jean-Paul, going to Azrael for this? Why didn't you come to me? It is one of the best written single episodes, single issues of a comic book I have ever read. I was moved. And then it ends with Bruce putting his hands on his shoulders and saying, this is the way it has always been. I'm getting choked up thinking about it, between fathers and sons. And it is one of the greatest single issues of comics I've ever read. But anyway, mine is Dick Grayson. What about you?
Well, to me, yeah, I feel the same way. You can't in a modern, why would Batman take Robin out onto the streets and subject him to harm, potential harm. I don't know. In this day and age, he would get pilloried for that in the press, certainly. But no, I mean, look, I love Dick Grayson. To me, Dick Grayson is Robin. He was since I was a little kid. But I liked, in my own head canon of what happens to comic book characters, is Dick Grayson joins the Teen Titans, and then he gives up the mantle of Robin and becomes Nightwing. So to me, and you know, we've seen there's also different Robins all the way up to the Dark Knight Returns, where you've got a female Robin, and the first time you saw a female Robin, I think. But again, I don't think it works in live action. I just don't.
Would you be okay if they decided to do that, but break the traditional role and had it be like a young man, stuff like that, like 1920? Would you be okay with it on that level?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, it could be done if it was made plausible. I'm not saying it can't be done, because you can make anything plausible, but I just don't understand that Batman, especially as he's been portrayed by Michael Keaton in the films, or by Christian Bale and Ben Affleck, why would you have that character have a Robin, or have the need for a Robin? I don't know.
All right. Great question, Thick. All right, let's move on here. Robert Michaels writes, love all the recent fan art of you guys. Yes, people have been putting up some fan art, particularly, what's the one guy who's been doing a bunch of them? Oh, why am I forgetting his name?
Oh, and
he did our Star Trek
and
one.
I love him. He's watching us right now.
Crabtree. David Crabtree, that's right. Has put up a bunch of them.
USMC.
Yeah, and a bunch of other guys have been sending in stuff. Guys,
the Crabtree Star Trek one, did you see that?
The two captains?
Picard. How great was that? And then us as the Joker. I was the Joker and you were Batman.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, dude, that one's awesome.
Okay, I got to keep my... But if you want to have something that's going to keep you up in your nightmares, me bald. It was drawing me as Picard. But seriously, thank you. If you guys are artists and you want to send in more art, please do. You know what? We should start featuring it on the show. We should start.
We should. And Crabtree gets our faces right.
Yes, he does.
Like, wait till you see the version he did of you as Batman and me as the Joker is really good.
All right, I got to see that one. All right, Nicholas Glenn writes, do you think we'll ever get an Omega Red on screen? If so, what universe? I heard somebody say that there is an Omega Red cameo in Deadpool 2 in the prison. If so, I don't know what it was, and I haven't looked for it. Did you see anything like that?
It's maybe they name-checked him or not. By the way, I just watched the super duper cut of Deadpool 2.
I have still not seen that. I've got to.
It's worth watching. Not just for the end, but there's lots of really cool nuggets sprinkled in all the way through. But I love the Omega Red, like the Jim Lee version of Omega Red. Didn't Jim Lee first draw Omega Red?
I believe he did.
I mean, I want that version of Omega Red.
Okay, let's go this. David Tapia writes, super early box office prediction for Captain Marvel. Ooh, I mean, it's tough in normal circumstances. Considering there hasn't even been a trailer for this thing yet, I don't know. Could it do... Look, I've got two trains of thought. Number one, it'll do Ant-Man kind of business. It's a new character, that a lot of the average film-going audience isn't really familiar with. Come out, do a really solid, respectable $600 million, right? Which is what this Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to do. Or does it go the Black Panther route, where you've got a traditionally underrepresented group in there? This is our first Marvel MCU female-led movie, and could it have that type of response? Look, we don't know how good or bad the movie is. We haven't seen the trailer yet. It's tough to say, so I'm going to lean towards the Ant-Man and Wasp. Solid business, really good first outing. I'm going to guess $700 million is what I'm going to say. So even a little bit better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm going to say $700 million, but I completely reserve the right to change that once I start seeing some trailers engaging how the audience is responding. But I'll go $700 million for now. Robert, what about
I'm going to go higher than you. And I'm going to say that because, you know, Carol Danvers is a fighter pilot. She's just a badass all the way around. And I think that, you know, don't underestimate the power of the strength of the female audience to take this movie. And I don't know if it's going to do Black Panther numbers. It depends if the movie's as cool as I think it's going to be. But you're going to have an epic science fiction story with a great female protagonist who's a very strong woman in her own right at its center, who starts out as a badass and becomes even more of a badass, and basically is the savior of the universe at this point. So I think we could see it put up higher, 750 to maybe even 800, 900 million, depending. It's got to be good though.
But again, yeah, and so we reserve the right to change those numbers a little bit later. Ben Sultan writes, I totally disagree that Smallville was an Elseworld version of Superman, even though they didn't use the Superman costume. Well, you can disagree all you want, but it was an Elseworld version of Superman. That was not canon Superman. I mean, that's not up for debate. That's not a question. You know, Superman did not come across Doomsday when he was, you know, at the Doomsday was not a human guy who then turns into Dooms. I mean, it's not up for debate. It's not a subjective question. Smallville was not canonical Superman. I mean, unless I'm missing something. I love Smallville, but it was definitely 100% an Elseworlds vision of Superman, totally separated from the real Superman.
Yeah, I agree. Just like we've seen how many Elseworlds stories that you've seen that I enjoy. I thought it was an interesting take on the Superman character. But, you know, look at Superboy in the comics. I mean, Superboy in the Legion of Superheroes. He was fully in his Superman outfit as a kid. Well, not as a kid, but as a teenager, and interacted with a lot of the characters we know from the pantheon of DC heroes. So Smallville was a different, interesting take on that mythology.
All right. Ben Rayner writes, your new Superman, Jonah Hill. Well, hey, look, don't laugh. Jonah Hill has looked very trim lately.
Yeah.
He looks like completely different. He's lost like a whole ton of weight. I almost prefer him to be a little heavier, but whatever. He's looking good, so who knows? I don't know that he has the muscles for it. Rodrigo Ortiz writes, you have my respect, Stark. Thanos, so epic. It was a great line, and it was a great moment for him to say that. I kind of feel like it was Marvel kissing Robert Downey Jr.'s ass a little bit to throw that in there. It wasn't really put in there. But hey, he put up a good fight. Doctor Strange, I think, actually put up the best fight out of anybody. When you really watch it, I think the Doctor Strange conference, I mean, yeah, Tony cut him. But for the most part, I thought it was Doctor Strange. Well, then, of course, Thanos or Thor nearly kills him. So I guess I take it back. Thor clearly did the best against Thanos, obviously. But it was a powerful line. Emotionally, it was a powerful line. It worked really great. Your thoughts on that scene?
Well, I loved it. And you know, I like the idea that Thanos would probably be monitoring what's going on Earth.
Absolutely.
You know, Loki is with taking the Chitauri at Thanos' behest. Trying to stir some shit up. I mean, I think that why wouldn't Thanos respect Stark? Stark is a great mind. He's done a lot. You know, I think Thanos probably got a good chuckle out of the whole Ultron incident. You know, I mean, he would know because Stark's been surrounded by the Infinity Stones on Earth. So he'd keep up with current events.
Well, and on top of that, too, like, some people say, well, wait a minute, how did he know who Tony Stark was? Well, it's simple. I think Thanos keeps tabs on anything that is a threat to him in the universe.
Right.
When the Avengers stopped his army, and what was the name of his little sidekick? Thanos' sidekick characters, the guy who Ronan kills eventually.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name, but he says, you know, they are powerful, my lord, like, to challenge them is to court death, and which got the little Thanos smile, of course. But I mean, if that's the case and they're actually a threat, of course he'll do reconnaissance on them. Of course he'll do intelligence gathering on them. That's why he knew who they were.
Right.
Micah T writes, did you guys ever notice that the Captain Marvel emblem is on Ronan's hammer? Pretty interesting, cool. I'm going to tell you right now, Micah, I have not noticed that, but I'm going to look for that now. Have you ever seen that or noticed that?
Well, yeah, no. I mean, that logo is on, you know, the Kree. I mean, I believe it's a Kree. It would be a Kree logo, and Ronan is a Kree.
Yes.
So that makes sense. I mean, if you see that picture that was released, you see a lot of the Kree army, I guess you'd call it, in one of the Captain
coming in on the beach
today. No, with the Ronin and with
Marvel
and Captain Marvel's walking toward them with Korath and all the other characters.
All right, Nicholas Glenn writes, have you heard of what Ethan Van Sciver did with his indie comic project Cyberfrog? Over 600,000 raised by supporters. I have not heard of that. You clearly see
yes, and of course he is at the forefront of the right-wing Comicsgate movement. He's very outspoken. He's very much a right-wing conservative comic personality, and he's recently run afoul of Bill Sienkiewicz and the wife of Darwin Cook. But yes, His Cyberfrog made a lot of money. And you know what? More power to him as a creator. I might not agree with his politics, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy his art.
Eric Struwe writes, what if Homecoming is really a prequel to Infinity War and the last scene is Peter on the bus? I think there are several things that work against that. I don't think that theory holds up if you actually look at the events that happen in there. I mean, look, everything that happens pre-Infinity War is a prequel to Infinity War. But Homecoming, I do not believe. I just think there's too much there that says it's not the case.
Yeah, and I think Kevin Feige's on record saying that the next phase of the Marvel Universe begins with Spider-Man Far From Home. So
right, but he was asking about Homecoming.
Oh, Homecoming.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's implied there's too much other stuff that happens between then and then.
Yeah, I think so too. I misunderstood. Yeah.
Okay. James L.H. writes, hi guys, as a UK viewer who can't get to your Comic-Cons, Marvel at New York one mentioned Daredevil. What do you think? Man, I got to read this again. Okay. Hi guys, as a UK viewer who can't get to your Comic-Cons, Marvel at New York one mentioned Daredevil. What do you think this will include, and do you think they will have anything with Captain Marvel? I honestly don't know what it is.
I think what he's trying to say is that Marvel is appearing at the New York Comic Con that's at the beginning of October.
Okay.
That's the big New York Comic Con that Marvel is bringing. They're bringing a look at Daredevil Season 2.
Great. Okay.
Or Season 3, pardon me. And I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be something to do with Captain Marvel. They'll probably, I would imagine, if we don't see a trailer before then, that's when they'll drop the trailers at the New York Comic Con. That's what I would imagine.
When is New York Comic Con? Is it?
I want to say it's the first week of October, the first or second week, maybe October 9th.
Okay, because I had a theory that I said this morning that normally when they put out their first official images and looks, it's usually for Marvel's modus operandi, it's usually within the next 2 weeks that you get your first trailer.
Right.
So, but that's a good argument though. Do you think they could wait another month for?
I don't know. You might be right. I mean, they like you said, they catch the wave. As Brie Larson tweeted last night, she said, "Hey, Entertainment Weekly, let's break the internet tomorrow." She said, "I'm bored. Let's break the internet tomorrow." And Entertainment Weekly cheekily tweeted back, and then she tweeted back to them. So there's always a plan. But on the other hand, what movie is coming out that they can put it in the theater for? Does it really matter? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think we're beyond the age now. Like everybody sees the trailer for the first time online.
Yeah, and I think, look, if the trailer's done, they're going to release it. I mean, they're gauging the response. The response has been overwhelming. Everyone's been talking about it, so it's been picked up by other news organizations. I think that people were impressed. So.
All right. MW77 writes, will there ever be a Justice League Snyder version? Oh, the infamous Snyder. No, never. I mean, that's all I got. Never.
No, it was never finished.
Yeah.
Who's going to pay for that?
There was early, like every movie, there was early rough cuts put together,
sure.
but there was never a version of the film that was anywhere near complete.
No, unfinished effects. It's tens of millions of dollars of work.
All right. Twigriff writes, how was Thor and MCU in IMAX? Oh, I didn't go. Did you get out to any of the IMAX 10th anniversary screening film festival?
I didn't
go.
I was
too busy.
I went and saw. I've seen a couple of the Marvel movies in IMAX. I love them in IMAX. I love seeing. I especially love Infinity War in IMAX, and it really bothers me that they didn't release Infinity War in the IMAX ratio. When you look at what Warner Brothers did with the Christopher Nolan Batman films, they switched between the IMAX ratio and the standard widescreen ratio. And why didn't they do that? If it was finished in IMAX, I think they should re-release it, make it an extended version like the Lord of the Rings, and give me, I had to go to the UK to get my 3D Infinity War Blu-ray, so I would buy an IMAX version of that film.
All right.
Ratio.
DC Patience writes, my husband and I rewatched Infinity War on streaming. 4th time seeing it, and we liked it even more. Thanos, Thor, Rocket, Doctor Strange, wow, love them. I made an observation the other day that, hey, look, Captain America was great in the movie. Iron Man was great in the movie. Star-Lord was great in the movie, all that kind of stuff. But I propose that there are 2 characters in that film that truly elevated their stock in the MCU. I thought one was Thor, clearly.
Absolutely.
Thor's on a bit of a resurgence between Thor Ragnarok, and a lot of people came out of Infinity War going, he's my favorite guy in the movie. And as I remember, this blew my mind. The Russo brothers on the director's commentary said, think about that. This blew my mind. He said, in the scene where he throws the axe, hits him in the chest, the Russos go, think about this. If that axe had hit 1 foot higher and hit him in the head, this movie is a Thor movie. It hits him in the chest, and it's a Thanos movie. But the movie starts with Thor and Thanos, ends with Thor and Thanos, follows their respective journeys till they get back together. If that thing hits him in the head, it's seen as a Thor movie. And my head just went like, boom on that. So I think Thor's stock elevated. And I think the one other character whose stock really elevated with a lot of people, I would propose, was actually Doctor Strange.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Doctor Strange was the guy that, with his, I mean, other than Thor, I think his one-on-one toe-to-toe fight with Thanos was great. The only reason Thanos was able to get that stone off him was because he gave it to him so he could save Tony's life. And I think their stock, like, do you agree with that, or do you think there are other characters who increased?
No, I completely agree. And I would also say that, no, Doctor Strange was a badass, and the fact that he's calling Tony Stark a douche, in the beginning, I love that. It was so great because you got these two alpha males, the egomaniacs, the Marvel Cinematic Universe going head to head, and Doctor Strange was awesome. He was even better than he was in his own movie.
I agree,
and I loved it. But I also think the third character that gets a Most Valuable Player award is Rocket. I love when the scene when Rocket and Thor are having that conversation. Easily,
to me, the best scene of that entire movie.
It was so good. And, that movie is so rewatchable. I've maintained that one of the most rewatchable movies of the last decade, and this is going to seem weird to some people, is David Fincher's The Social Network. I watch that movie all the time. I think that movie is wildly entertaining. But Infinity War is just as entertaining. I don't know why, since I've had that Blu-ray, I've probably put it in more than any other Blu-ray I've owned in 5 years. They're just... the whole scope of it, just the whole joy of the fantasy elements, the fact that it even works. I can't believe that I'm watching Thor reignite a neutron star or a collapsed star. It's just, I can't. I'm watching this stuff. I'm like, this is such high Jack Kirby monster cosmic awesomeness that I never thought I would see this in a movie, much less enjoy it as a middle-aged man. And I love it so. It's fantastic.
All right, let's see. Helsing7747 writes, Robert, do you think The Legend of the Galactic Heroes could be a good HBO type of show because that anime/book series is truly amazing?
Well, don't get me started. It's my favorite anime of all time. And the answer is yes. I watch The Expanse, and all I think about when I watch The Expanse is Legends of the Galactic Heroes. The thing is, it's so dense, and there's so many characters, but watching The Expanse and how it goes from planets to space, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And by the way, yes, it's not without its problems, but Sentai's box set of, it's $800 of the Legends of the Galactic Heroes has come out on Blu-ray. It is now out in the United States. You can finally get it if you want to drop the green. But I think you're absolutely right. It would make a fantastic, fantastic HBO series. But you'd really need a visionary, both an executive at a studio, and you really need someone who understands Legends of the Galactic Heroes in order to do justice to it, because it's amazing.
All right, and the final question today, so no more questions, guys. The final question today comes to us from D Patience again, who writes, Miss Marvel, Camilla Khan, would love to see that group represented. Thoughts on chances of seeing a Muslim superhero soon? Well, I mean, what was the name of the character in Heroes? The Milo Ventimiglia NBC show Heroes, and I'm forgetting the character's name. That was kind of the first little attempt at something like that. Look, it's got to happen. I don't think we're going to see Miss Marvel anytime soon. I don't think you're going to see derivative variants of heroes brought into the big screen necessarily. At least not anytime soon. So I don't know that we're going to see Miss Marvel. But we're definitely, now that we're starting to get a little bit more representation on screen, I think, I don't think we're that far away from getting like Sunfire, or getting, we're getting Asian representation, getting more female representation, getting Muslim representation. I don't think we're too far away from it. I'm just not sure what character they would do yet, because again, I don't think they're going to do a Miss Marvel when they've got a Captain Marvel. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, Robert. Can you think of any others that could jump in there?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's a great idea. The Miss Marvel character now she's a great character, and I think it's something you could do. And when Miss Marvel, original Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, was originally created, like especially in her comic runs in the 70s, she was known as a feminist hero. She was written definitely as a character of female empowerment. And I could see the new Miss Marvel taking up that mantle now. But I don't know if there would be too much brand confusion in the MCU. But you never know. Maybe she'll show up on a TV show.
All right, guys, and that will do it for this week's installment of the Weekly Hero. Hey, look, before we sign off, I want to just make mention of something here quick. We do apologize that we weren't on last week. We had technical problems. I was down for almost 2 days, didn't have shows because of internet problems that was happening. We are up and running again, but I also want to point out and acknowledge that 2 weeks ago, we had a bunch of live questions come in that we didn't have time to get to. We meant to get around and answer those in a companion video, and we didn't get around to doing those. But we have not lost those questions. We still have those questions that you guys sent in 2 weeks ago that we didn't get around to live. And we are going to do a companion video this week sometime to get those caught up on. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, yep, we dropped the ball. We didn't have a chance or time to do them so far, but we still have them and we're going to get around to them. So thank you for your patience on that. Guys, I got to thank the great Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. Robert, where can people find you online?
Well, John, you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM or find me on Instagram at RMBurnett or on Facebook at Robert Meyer Burnett. I'm launching my new show. It's a week late, so I apologize, but I messed up my face. Robservations, the show about something that's on my YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, launches on Monday. I promise it's going to be out on Monday. It's kind of like Scotty dragging the Enterprise out of dry dock in Star Trek The Motion Picture. But subscribe to The Burnett Work and look out for Robservations.
And of course, you guys can simply follow me on Twitter, simply at John Campea. Guys, thank you again for your support. Thanks for being here. Thanks for talking about our favorite things, comic book movies and TV shows and all that kind of stuff. We will, of course, Robert and I be back again next week. So until then, my name's John Campea for Robert Meyer Burnett.